Over the 20 years that I've been producing music, there's three main things that have helped me become a much better producer. When we get back. Thanks so much for continuing to support the channel. If you haven't already subscribed and liked, please do. Just lets me know that you love me as much as I love you. All right, so like I said before the break, three main things that have helped me become a better producer. And we're just gonna go down the list. And I'm sharing these things with you guys, honestly, because I know it's difficult with all of the information available online. A lot of times you just don't know where to start. You don't know where to start to find out what is important. What do I need to know to just get to the next level of what I'm doing? So I've been thinking over the last few days of how to best serve you. And I thought that 20 years of experience, I can pretty much ball up into three main things as a record producer that has helped me continue to evolve correctly as a record producer and continue to offer the best service possible to my clients and to other artists out there looking to build careers. So I'm gonna go ahead and start my list. We'll go ahead and start with number one. One of the best things you can do as a music producer, trying to up your skill, is work with pegs. So what does that mean? That means work with using other people's songs. Now, I know what you're thinking. I want to be original. I get it. But just think about this for a moment. Nobody learns a musical instrument without learning to play somebody else's song. So for instance, if I'm a guitar player, how do I learn to play the guitar? I start playing Coldplay songs. I start playing Bon Jovi songs. I start playing those songs so that I can build the fundamentals necessary to understand what a guitar is supposed to sound like, what it's supposed to feel like when it's right. Same thing with the piano. If I want to learn the piano, start doing Mary Had a Little Lamb, and then one day I'm playing Mozart. When you're doing production, it's no different. When you're starting off and you're trying to find your bearings as to how to be a good producer, the best possible thing you can do is use pegs. Get somebody's song that's popular that you like, put it in the DAW, get it set up in there so that you can look at it, look at the BPM. Find out how fast that genre, if we're working with trap music, what are the common BPMs? What are the common instruments that they use? How many instruments do they use? What chords are they using? Are they using chords? Start breaking down, start reverse engineering what it takes to make your stuff sound like that stuff. And it's gonna teach you so much about what you don't know. And you'll have something to compare the gap between where you are and where you wanna be. So using pegs is a plus. And eventually, as you get the hang of it, you'll be able to wander off and be creative. So that's number one, use pegs. Number two, sounds matter. What I mean is these sound libraries that we use, and these expensive sound libraries and these drum kits and all this stuff that you can get off of Splice, it matters. But it needs to be done in its proper place. Meaning, you don't want to be coming in the studio ready to try to work on the next Afrobeat song and sifting through 200 kicks, 100 snares, trying to figure out what the best way to get your sound is. You want to get into the studio, you want to already have your kits ready to go with all the kicks that you need, and you want to have already listened to that genre and laid out your kits, laid out types of sounds that work with that particular genre. You want to already have that mapped out. So one of the best things that I've ever done as a music producer is allot a day, a month, maybe 2 days a month, where all I do is I go in and reorganize my sounds. Not only do I reorganize my sounds, but I listen to a particular genre that I may not be so familiar with, like, say, Afrobeat. And I'll listen to 10, 20, 30 different songs. And as I'm listening to those songs, I'm just listening to the kicks. And as I'm listening to the kicks, I'm on Splice downloading kicks that sound similar, organizing them in a folder, putting them in my MPC and creating customized kits. Same thing. Do that with snares. Do that with the hi-hats. Do that with funky loops. Then I'll go and listen to the types of sounds they use, like, or are they using steel drums? Are they using warped keys? What kind of textures, sounds are they using? Do I have stuff similar in my DAW that I can tweak a little bit? And then I tweak it and I save it as, Marcus Afrobeat keys, and I start building these little libraries for that particular genre, so that when it's time to get in the studio and get creative, I'm ready to go. I open up my session, I open up my drum kits, I'm able to get to a kick sound that I like quickly, I'm able to get to a snare, I'm able to get to some keys that are already fitting in that genre because I've already taken the time to do it. What a lot of inexperienced producers do is they try to get in there and make a beat, and they get lost in libraries and they get lost in sounds, and by the time they got something they like, they're burnt out already. They're just trying to throw a track together real quick. Me, it's the exact opposite. When I get in the studio, I already have my library set up, I already have my sound set up. It's time to be inspired. It's time to get down to the keys, it's time to get down to the drums, it's time to be inspired and not be focusing on going down a crazy list of kicks. So that's number 2. Get your sounds right. Allot a day where you do not do anything other than get your sounds right. Don't go in there to play with a beat. Don't go in there to mangle vocals. Go in there to get your sounds right. And when you're doing that, pick a genre. I'm gonna work on trap. I'm gonna work on R&B. I'm gonna work on EDM. I'm gonna work on dubstep. I'm gonna work on, Afrobeat. Get in there, get those sounds right, save them, get your templates right. So when it's time to be creative, all of your energy can go towards being creative and not go towards picking sounds, okay? Number 3, last but definitely not least, learn to work with vocals. I'm gonna tell you, this is the number 1 killer of most producers' careers, is that they get so caught up in making a beat. They get so caught up in going through sound libraries and watching YouTube videos on how to make my beat sound like Drake. No. There's a time and place for that, but then there's a time and place to sit that to the side and work with vocals. Work with your local vocalist. Have them come in, cut something. If you don't have a way to record something, download acapellas. But I'm gonna tell you, if you're spending 90% of your time working on a beat and only 10% of your time working on a beat with vocals, you're wasting 90% of your time. Because songs that sell, they sell because of vocals. They sell because of the melody of the song. And the melody of the song dictates the track. It dictates the arrangement. So if all you're doing is arrangement all the time and never really working with vocals and starting to figure out, okay, how do I make this 4-bar loop sound like more than a 4-bar loop? Well, I've got to work on my transitions, getting from the verse to the chorus. Maybe I drop some stuff out here and let the vocal guide us before we get into the hook. You start to piece together what is necessary to make an arrangement support the star of the show, which is vocals, which is the song, which is the melody. If all you're doing is making dope tracks and putting them on YouTube and selling them for $30, you're missing out on the most important part. And the most important part is I need to learn the skill that allows my abilities to make somebody else's abilities shine. That's the skill. That's what it means to be a record producer. It means I'm able to take somebody else's art and support it and give it the stage that it needs to be far better than it ever was before it had me involved. That is how we work. That is how we continue to work. People come back to us because when they work with us, they never sounded better. Vocalists never sounded better. Their songs never sounded better. Their art never came through better than it did when it came through working with us. And we developed that skill by working with vocals. You have to work with vocals. So however you can, start working with vocals. Start learning how to get vocals as amazing as you can get them. Start learning how to build a track to support those vocals well. What you're gonna find is loops don't always work. Sometimes somebody's gonna come to you with a melody where there is no loop. There is no loop library that supports what they're trying to do and the vision that they have. And it forces you to be, creative in your approach. And it forces you to maybe use a keyboard player to sit down and start there. Start with a keyboard player working out the melody around your singer. Start with a guitar player, working out the melody around your singer, and then build from there. But if you never run into those problems because you always just start with making a beat, then you're not evolving the way you should be. So, number one, use pegs. It'll help you develop. It'll help you stay on course. Number two, take that day once a month to set aside time to develop your sound library, to listen to sounds, to make sure you're doing stuff that is common in that genre, and you're coming up with sounds and tones and kick drums and snares that are common in that genre, and you're organized and you can work quick when it's time to. And number three, work with vocals. Work with vocalists. I know it's not always the funnest thing to do. It's much easier for us to lock ourselves in a room and just do our thing and not have to worry about making somebody else's vision come to life. But the truth is, that's the job. And if you want to get paid to do that job, you have to get good at that part of the job. You can follow me on Instagram. I'll post the information. And I'll see you in a couple of days. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you. I'm Marcus Davis. Till next time.